Imagine a man standing on a train platform, dirt poor, clothes worn thin, with nothing in his pockets but a burning, almost absurd idea. He wants to become the business partner of one of the most powerful inventors in history, Thomas Edison. He has no money, no connections, no formal education that would open that door. He doesn't even have enough cash for a full train ticket, so he rides part of the way in a freight car. And yet when he finally stands before Edison, something in his eyes and his voice communicates an unshakable certainty. Years later, that man, Edwin C. Barnes, would indeed become Edison's partner, marketing the dictating machine and building a fortune. When asked how he did it, he said simply, "I burned all bridges behind me. I stood face to face with my goal and I refused to retreat." That story isn't a folk tale. It's the opening volley of a book that has sold over 100 million copies and shaped the way the modern world thinks about success. The book is Think and Grow Rich, and the man who wrote it, Napoleon Hill, spent 20 years of his life interviewing over 500 of the most accomplished people on earth: Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Alexander Graham Bell, Theodore Roosevelt, to decode the exact mental formula that turns a burning desire into material reality. What he discovered was so systematic, so reproducible that he called it a philosophy of achievement, not a secret of luck. And at its core lies a single, electrifying idea. Your thoughts, when mixed with definiteness of purpose, persistence, and a burning desire, can be transmuted into their physical equivalent. Most of us are never taught this. We're taught to work hard, to be realistic, to temper our dreams with practicality. But Hill's research revealed that the most successful people in history operated on a completely different premise. They started with an intangible impulse of thought, cultivated it into an obsession, and then moved heaven and earth to bring it into existence. And the book that emerged from that research, published in 1937, in the middle of the Great Depression, gave desperate millions a mental toolkit to rebuild their lives, not by waiting for the economy to change, but by changing the very vibration of their own minds. It was radical then, and in an age of distraction and overwhelm, it's arguably even more radical now. Over the next hour, we're going to walk through every major principle Napoleon Hill laid down, not as a dry list of rules, but as an integrated system of mental and practical technology. You'll understand the precise role that burning desire plays in achievement, and why wishing is useless, while a white-hot obsession changes everything. You'll learn how faith isn't a religious concept, but a state of mind that can be deliberately cultivated through repetition. You'll discover the hidden workshop of your imagination, the power of organized planning, the art of making unbreakable decisions, and the one quality, persistence, that acts as the great multiplier of all other efforts. We'll explore the mastermind principle that no one succeeds alone, and even the more esoteric chapters on the subconscious mind and the sixth sense, grounding them in practical, daily application. By the time we're finished, you'll not only understand the 13 steps to riches, which are really steps to any form of achievement, but you'll have a concrete action plan to begin implementing them tomorrow. My promise to you is that if you listen with an open and curious mind, you'll start to notice something profound. The world around you is filled with opportunities that were always there, but that a new mental lens suddenly brings into focus. That's the transformation, and it begins with the very first principle, desire. There is a sentence in Think and Grow Rich that, once you truly absorb it, leaves you no room for excuses. Hill writes, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." This is not magical thinking. It's a description of a psychological process that begins with a clear, definite goal and ends with its physical manifestation through sustained action. The entire book is an expansion of this single idea into a practical step-by-step method. And it starts with a quality that most people confuse with mere wishing: desire. Napoleon Hill was commissioned by Andrew Carnegie, then one of the richest men in the world, to interview the greatest achievers of the age and distill their common success principles into a philosophy that anyone could learn. Carnegie believed that this formula could be taught in schools and would revolutionize society. Hill spent 2 decades without a salary, surviving on the occasional sponsorship to complete the mission. What he discovered was that every great fortune, every notable achievement began not with capital or connections, but with a state of mind, a burning desire for a specific outcome. Not a vague hope for wealth, not a general ambition to be successful, but a precise, measurable, time-bound obsession that becomes the dominant thought in a person's mind day and night. The difference between a wish and a burning desire is the difference between glancing at a map and embarking on a pilgrimage. A wish says, "It would be nice to be rich." A burning desire says, "I will earn $1 million by December 31st, and I am willing to pay whatever price is necessary in terms of effort, learning, and sacrifice." Hill believed that this definiteness of purpose sends out a psychological signal, a vibrational frequency, if you will, that attracts the people, ideas, and circumstances necessary for its fulfillment. But that attraction only works when the desire is backed by a detailed plan and relentless action. The rest of the book simply expands this idea outward into a complete system of mental and practical technology. Each chapter is a gear in a machine that, when assembled and run with persistence, produces results that can seem almost miraculous to the uninitiated. And if you're ready to stop wishing and start desiring with precision, the first step is to understand exactly what a true, burning desire looks like in practice, and how it transforms ordinary people into unstoppable forces. In the early 20th century, a young man named Edwin C. Barnes had a single, all-consuming goal: to become the business associate of Thomas Edison. He didn't know Edison. He had no qualifications. He had no money. But he had something more powerful, an image in his mind, held with absolute clarity, of himself standing beside the great inventor, collaborating on projects. That mental picture was so vivid that it felt more real than his poverty. He made his way to Edison's laboratory and presented himself not as a job seeker, but as a future partner. Edison was so struck by his determination that he gave him a minor role, mostly to see what would happen. Years passed. Barnes never lost sight of his goal. When an opportunity appeared, the sales rights to a new dictating machine, Barnes seized it and made himself so successful that Edison eventually formalized the partnership. Barnes later said that his entire success was due to the fact that he knew exactly what he wanted and was willing to stand by that desire until it materialized. Hill uses this story to illustrate the 6 steps that turn desire into gold. First, fix in your mind the exact amount of money you desire. Not a lot, but a specific number. Second, determine exactly what you intend to give in return for that money. There is no such thing as something for nothing. Third, establish a definite date by which you intend to possess that sum. Fourth, create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once, whether you feel ready or not. Fifth, write out a clear, concise statement of the amount of money, the time limit, what you will give in return, and your plan of action. Sixth, read this statement aloud twice daily, once before bed and once after rising, and as you read, see and feel and believe yourself already in possession of the money. Hill called this the process of programming the subconscious mind. Now apply this to real life. A student may have a desire to graduate debt-free and launch a freelance design business. She can write a specific statement. By June 1st of my senior year, I will have earned $25,000 through freelance web design, in exchange for delivering excellent work to small businesses. I will achieve this by taking on 1 new client per month starting now. She reads it morning and night, feels the relief of having the money, and takes daily action. An employee who wants a promotion to director within 2 years writes a similar statement, outlining the value she will bring, the skills she will acquire, and the specific date. A business owner who wants to hit $1 million in revenue does the same. An investor who wants to build a dividend portfolio yielding $50,000 a year by a certain age creates the statement. The process is identical regardless of scale. Tomorrow you can do this yourself. Take a quiet hour. Decide on a single, compelling financial or professional goal. Make it specific, measurable, and time-bound. Write the statement by hand. Read it to yourself with genuine feeling twice a day. This is not an affirmation in the shallow sense. It is an instruction to your subconscious to begin working on your behalf. The feeling is critical. You must conjure the emotion of already having achieved the goal. A common mistake is writing a goal that is too vague, like, I want to be rich. Vague desires produce vague results. Another mistake is treating the reading as a mechanical chore without emotional engagement. Your subconscious responds to feeling, not words. A third mistake is writing the statement and then doing nothing else. The plan must be activated immediately. This process isn't a magic spell. If you lose your job, reading a statement won't pay your rent next week. The burning desire must be matched with the intelligence to pivot, the resilience to endure setbacks, and a realistic understanding that external circumstances can and do delay outcomes. But even in the face of systemic barriers, a clear desire paired with flexible persistence shifts the odds dramatically in your favor. It's the starting point, not the entire journey. In the modern world, the same mechanism that Barnes used to reach Edison operates daily. An aspiring YouTuber writes a specific subscriber and income goal, visualizes the channel's success, feels the gratitude for the community she'll build, and then releases videos consistently for years until the algorithm and audience respond. A tech entrepreneur sets a definite target for app downloads, programs his mind with the belief that it's already done, and then works relentlessly to make it true. The tool has changed, but the mental formula is identical. So here is the takeaway. The starting point of all achievement is desire, not a casual preference but a white-hot obsession, refined into a definite plan and fed daily with faith and action. Without this step, the rest of the book is merely interesting theory. But once desire is in place, you're ready to power it with the next essential ingredient, the absolute belief that you can and will succeed. That's faith, and it's not what you think it is. Napoleon Hill defines faith not as religious belief, but as a state of mind that can be created through repeated affirmations and emotional conditioning. Faith is the substance that transforms a desire into its physical equivalent. It is the expectancy that bridges the gap between an invisible thought and a tangible result. And the remarkable claim Hill makes is that faith can be developed even by those who have never experienced it. It is a skill, not a gift. Hill recounts the story of Mahatma Gandhi, who wielded no material power, no army, no wealth, no formal political office, yet he moved an entire nation to action through the sheer force of his faith in his mission. Gandhi believed so completely in the principle of nonviolent resistance that he inspired that same faith in millions, and together they changed the course of history. That's the catalytic nature of faith. It is contagious, and it magnetizes cooperation. For Hill, the practical application of faith comes through the technique of autosuggestion. This is the process of deliberately feeding your subconscious mind with the thoughts you want it to act upon. The subconscious mind does not question. It simply accepts the commands you give it, whether those commands are positive or negative. If you constantly think, "I'll never be successful," your subconscious faithfully delivers experiences that match that belief. If you instead saturate your inner world with thoughts of success, wealth, and achievement, coupled with powerful emotion, your subconscious begins to rearrange your outer reality. That, in essence, is the secret of faith. Across real-life contexts, this principle is transformative. A student who consistently tells herself, "I am an excellent learner, I master difficult concepts quickly," will find her study sessions more productive than the student who mutters, "I'm just bad at math." An employee who genuinely believes she deserves a leadership role and acts as if she's already in one begins to be noticed as leadership material. A business owner who maintains unshakable faith in her vision, even when competitors doubt her, attracts the funding, the talent, and the customers to make it real. An investor who believes in the long-term growth of his strategy stays calm during market crashes and reaps the rewards that panicked sellers miss. You can begin the practice of faith building tomorrow morning. Combine the written statement of your desire with a daily visualization practice. Sit quietly for 5 minutes, close your eyes, and see yourself in possession of your goal. Hear the sounds, feel the emotions, notice the details. Then release it. Do it again before sleep. This is autosuggestion, repeated, emotionally charged instructions to the subconscious. A common mistake is treating affirmations as empty words. Repeating, "I am wealthy," while feeling broke and desperate only reinforces the contrast. You must generate the feeling of the wish fulfilled, even for a few moments. Another mistake is expecting overnight results. Faith is built like a muscle. Daily repetition over weeks and months is required. And the gravest error is allowing negative influences, pessimistic friends, doom-scrolling news, cynical social media, to flood your mind immediately after your practice. Guard your mental environment. Critics have often dismissed this as magical thinking or prosperity gospel. The limitation is that faith without action is fantasy. Hill himself emphasized this repeatedly. Faith must be backed by a definite plan and persistent action. Furthermore, some people suffer from depression, trauma, or anxiety that makes positive visualization feel almost cruel, and professional help may be needed before mental conditioning can take hold. This is not a substitute for psychological care. Today, the science of neuroplasticity and cognitive behavioral therapy confirms much of what Hill described. The brain literally rewires itself based on repeated thought patterns. Visualization is used by Olympic athletes and top performers to improve real-world performance. The mechanism is no longer considered mystical, it's neurological. Yet the core insight remains radical. You can consciously choose which thoughts to program, and that choice determines your destiny. But even the strongest faith needs a constant stream of the right mental material. That's where the next step comes in, the intentional technique of autosuggestion that turns belief into automatic subconscious programming. Imagine your mind is a garden. The soil is immensely fertile. It will grow whatever seeds you plant, whether you plant them deliberately or carelessly. Autosuggestion is the act of deliberately choosing the seeds and watering them daily. Hill outlined this as the medium through which desire and faith reach the subconscious mind. Without it, the most beautiful written goals remain on paper. With it, those goals begin to take root in the deeper part of you that controls your automatic behaviors, your perceptions, and your gut-level decisions. Hill shared the account of a man who used autosuggestion to literally sleep his way into a solution. He had a goal to earn $100,000, a fortune at the time, but after months of effort, he was stuck. He read his statement aloud each night with intense emotion, fully expecting a breakthrough. One night, as he fell asleep, an idea surfaced. It was the key to a business partnership that quickly generated the money he sought. The idea came because his mind, saturated with the goal, worked on it even while he slept. That's the power of programming the subconscious. For real-life application, a student preparing for a difficult exam can use autosuggestion not just for motivation, but for learning. Each night, she reviews her goal of acing the exam, sees herself confidently answering questions, feels the pride of success, and then mentally instructs her mind to organize and retain the material. An employee who needs to deliver a high-stakes presentation can visualize standing before the audience, speaking fluently, seeing nods of agreement. The nervous system doesn't fully distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one, so the actual presentation feels like familiar territory. A business owner facing a make-or-break negotiation can spend 5 minutes each morning seeing the deal closed, feeling the handshake, hearing the congratulations. An investor can program her mind to remain calm and analytical by visualizing herself watching market fluctuations with equanimity and making disciplined decisions. Practical action for tomorrow. Combine the written desire statement with an audio recording. Use your own voice, speaking the statement with conviction and emotion, and listen to it as you fall asleep or during idle moments. This is a powerful, modern twist on Hill's original instruction. The voice is your own, and it bypasses the critical, conscious mind. Mistakes include using autosuggestion to plant goals that are not truly your own, or that conflict with your deeper values. If you aim for wealth but secretly believe money is evil, the subconscious will sabotage you. Another mistake is inconsistency. Sporadic autosuggestion is like watering a plant once a month and expecting a harvest. The practice must be daily until the belief becomes automatic. Limitations. Autosuggestion is not mind control over others. It doesn't force the universe to comply. It changes your internal map, which changes your actions and perceptions, and it can be overpowered by deep-rooted trauma that requires therapeutic resolution. In such cases, autosuggestion alone is insufficient. In the modern era, entire industries are built on autosuggestion without calling it that. Guided meditation apps, motivational YouTube channels, subliminal audio tracks, these are all attempts to influence the subconscious. The difference is that Hill advocated a deliberate, personalized, emotionally charged practice rather than passive consumption. The most effective programming is self-authored, but all the programming in the world is useless if you don't have the right knowledge to execute your plan. That's the next principle: specialized knowledge. Napoleon Hill drew a sharp line between general knowledge and specialized knowledge. General knowledge, the kind taught in most schools, is useful for citizenship and culture, but it rarely produces wealth. Specialized knowledge is the precise, actionable expertise that solves a problem or creates a product for which the market is willing to pay. And here's the twist: you don't have to possess that knowledge yourself. You can organize and direct it through a mastermind group, through hearing experts, or through strategic partnerships. The successful person is not the one who knows everything, but the one who knows where to find the knowledge and how to apply it. Henry Ford, Hill recounts, was once sued by a newspaper that called him ignorant. On the witness stand, lawyers peppered him with trivia questions about history and politics. Ford's response was legendary. He pointed to a row of push-buttons on his desk and explained that he could summon any expert in any field with the press of a button. His job was not to know trivia. His job was to think. Specialized knowledge, organized and intelligently directed, is the key. Now apply this today. A student who wants to enter the booming field of artificial intelligence doesn't need a PhD in computer science on day one. She can acquire specialized knowledge through online courses, boot camps, and project-based learning, assembling a portfolio that demonstrates her skill. An employee who wants to transition from marketing to product management can learn the specialized knowledge of user research, data analysis, and road mapping through deliberate study and internal projects. A business owner who doesn't understand accounting can hire a skilled CPA or enroll in a practical finance course. An investor who wants to move beyond index funds into real estate syndications can spend months learning the legal structures, the metrics, and the risks before committing capital. Tomorrow, identify the one area of specialized knowledge that would most increase your earning capacity or advance your goal. Find 3 resources: a book, a course, a mentor, and schedule time in your calendar to study them. Knowledge is no longer scarce. Attention is. Dedicate even 20 minutes a day to becoming an expert in that narrow domain. A common mistake is assuming a degree automatically provides specialized knowledge. In many fast-moving fields, the curriculum is outdated by graduation. True specialized knowledge requires continuous updating. Another mistake is trying to learn everything yourself. The smartest people build networks of knowledge, just like Ford. The limitation is that knowledge without application is worthless. Hill emphasizes that specialized knowledge must be organized and directed toward a definite end. A person can spend years learning without ever producing value. Action is the catalyst, and in the modern gig economy, specialized knowledge has become the new currency. A freelancer with deep expertise in a niche software tool can earn more than a generalist with a master's degree. The internet gives you access to the world's information. The skill is in curating and applying it. So the takeaway is this: wealth is a product of specialized knowledge, intelligently applied, and you don't need to know everything. You need to know how to access everything. But once you have the knowledge, you need a place to shape it into a viable plan. That place is the imagination, the most powerful workshop on earth. Hill believed that imagination is the workshop where all plans are fashioned. He divided it into two forms: synthetic imagination, which rearranges existing ideas, concepts, and materials into new combinations, and creative imagination, which makes contact with the infinite intelligence and receives genuinely novel hunches and inspirations. Every fortune, every invention, every great work of art begins in this invisible workshop, and the more you use it, the sharper it becomes. Consider the story of a sack handler. He didn't invent Coca-Cola. The formula was created by a pharmacist named John Pemberton. But it was Candler's imagination that saw the potential to transform a headache remedy into a global brand. He took an existing product, synthesized a new marketing and distribution plan, and built a fortune. That's synthetic imagination. Creative imagination, on the other hand, is what happens when a composer hears a melody fully formed in her mind, or an inventor sees a machine in a flash of insight. Both forms are trainable. For a student, synthetic imagination might mean combining a love of graphic design with a knowledge of sustainability to create a brand of eco-friendly digital products. For an employee, it could be redesigning an internal process to save the company millions, earning a promotion and a reputation as an innovator. For a business owner, creative imagination might spark the next pivot that saves the company from disruption, like Netflix shifting from DVDs to streaming. For an investor, imagination helps in seeing the potential of a startup before the market catches on, or structuring a creative financing deal that others miss. You can exercise your imagination tomorrow with a simple exercise. Take a problem you're facing and brainstorm 20 possible solutions. Let the first 10 be conventional, the next 10 wild and unconstrained. Don't judge them. This stretches the synthetic muscle. For creative imagination, schedule 10 minutes of silence daily, asking a specific question and simply listening for whatever arises. Write it down. A mistake is believing that imagination is only for artists. Finance, engineering, and management all require massive imagination to solve complex, novel problems. Another mistake is dismissing flashes of inspiration as impractical. Many great fortunes started with a seemingly crazy idea that was then refined into a workable plan. And some people never use imagination because they're stuck in the "I'm not creative" story. The limitation is that imagination alone is chaotic. It must be paired with organized planning, which is the very next principle. Ideas without execution are hallucinations. And in the modern world, the tools for imagination have expanded: VR design, AI-assisted prototyping, global collaboration platforms. But the mental faculty remains the same. Imagination is the workshop, but plans are the blueprints. The takeaway: every achievement is born twice, first in the mind, then in the world. Cultivate your workshop. Keep it clean, well-lit, and in constant use. And then get ready to turn those blueprints into a tangible, step-by-step plan. Because desire, faith, and imagination without a plan are like an architect who draws beautiful buildings that never break ground. That's where organized planning comes in, and it's non-negotiable. Hill insists that if you want to achieve a definite goal, you must form a practical plan and put it into action immediately. No one drifts to success. And if your first plan fails, which it almost certainly will, you must replace it with a second plan, a third, a fourth, until you find one that works. The persistence of planning, not just the brilliance of a single strategy, is what separates achievers from dreamers. He tells the story of the 49ers in the California gold rush. Many found gold quickly, but after the surface gold was gone, most gave up and went home. One man, however, persisted. He kept digging, kept prospecting, kept learning new mining techniques. He eventually struck a deep vein that made him a fortune. The gold was always there. It was the persistence of organized planning that uncovered it. In real life, a student's first plan to pay for college might fail. Scholarships fall through, part-time work isn't enough. So she pivots. She creates a crowdfunding campaign, negotiates a tuition payment plan, starts a tutoring side hustle. The goal remains, the plan adapts. An employee's plan to earn a promotion might be blocked by office politics. So she builds external credentials, networks laterally, and lands an even better role elsewhere. A business owner's launch strategy fails to gain traction, so she retools the product based on feedback and relaunches. An investor's initial asset allocation underperforms. He studies, adjusts, and rebalances. In every case, the plan changed but the desire remained. Tomorrow, write down the first draft of a plan for your major goal. Break it into small, concrete steps. Identify the first action you can take within 24 hours and do it. Then set a regular review, weekly, to assess what's working and what isn't and adjust accordingly. A classic mistake is confusing activity with planning. A plan is a sequence of actions, not a busy schedule of unrelated tasks. Another mistake is treating a plan as sacred. In a rapidly changing world, rigid adherence to a broken plan is fatal. Adaptability is the intelligence behind planning, and some people fail to plan at all, relying on things will work out. They rarely do. Limitations. Even the best-laid plan can be destroyed by a black swan event, a pandemic, a financial crash, a personal tragedy. The principle of organized planning assumes a functioning system around you. In chaos, the plan must become survival and rebuilding first. Yet Hill's larger point holds. Those who continue to plan and act, even in the rubble, are the ones who rebuild fastest. In the modern startup world, organized planning is called agile methodology. Launch a minimum viable product, gather data, iterate. The same mindset can be applied to career and investment goals. The plan is a living document. The key takeaway: action without a plan is chaos, but a plan without action is a daydream. Persistently adapt your plan until the goal surrenders. And one of the most critical points at which most plans die is the point of decision. Because indecision and procrastination are the great dream killers. Let's talk about how to master the art of deciding. Hill's analysis of hundreds of wealthy individuals revealed a startling pattern. They all had the habit of making decisions quickly and changing them slowly, if ever. The unsuccessful, by contrast, make decisions slowly, if at all, and change them frequently. The ability to make a firm decision and then stick with it through the inevitable storms is a hallmark of every high achiever. He tells the story of Samuel Adams, the revolutionary, who committed to American independence long before the majority of colonists were on board. His decision was so clear, so forceful, that he became a magnet for collective action. Similarly, the signers of the Declaration of Independence made a decision that could have cost them their lives. They didn't waffle. They pledged their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor, and that decision altered history. For a student, indecision might look like endlessly switching majors, paralyzed by the fear of picking the wrong path. The one who decides early and accepts that adjustments can come later builds momentum. An employee who vacillates on a job offer, waiting for a perfect sign, often loses the opportunity. A business owner who can't decide on a pricing model or a marketing strategy bleeds time and cash. An investor who can't decide on an entry point watches years of gains pass by. The cost of indecision is always higher than the risk of a wrong decision made quickly and corrected intelligently. Tomorrow, identify one decision you've been postponing. Set a deadline, today at 5 p.m., for example, and make the decision with the information you have. Understand that no decision is permanent, you can course correct. But the relief and power that come from deciding are immediate. A mistake is confusing speed with recklessness. Quick decisions should be informed, not blind. Gather key facts, listen to intuition, and then decide. Another mistake is seeking consensus from everyone before deciding. Hill warns that opinions are cheap, and seeking them widely often leads to paralysis. Choose a small, trusted mastermind group for counsel, then act. The limitation is that some decisions genuinely require long deliberation, medical treatments, complex legal matters. The principle applies more to the directional, entrepreneurial, and personal growth decisions that shape a life. And today, the sheer number of choices we face daily can lead to decision fatigue. Simplify trivial choices to preserve mental energy for the ones that matter. The takeaway: the habit of decisiveness is a muscle. Exercise it daily with small decisions, and you'll have the strength for the big ones. But a decision, no matter how firm, means nothing if you don't back it with the one quality that carries you through the valley of failure. That's persistence. Persistence is the sustained effort required to bring a desire to fruition. Hill writes that without persistence, you will be defeated, even with all the other principles in place. With persistence, you will win, even if your initial plan is flawed. It is the sheer will to continue in the face of failure that separates the successful from the permanently striving. Hill recounts the story of his own son, Blair. Born without ears, Blair was told he would likely be deaf and mute for life. Hill refused to accept that verdict. He held a burning desire that his son would hear and speak normally. Through years of persistent effort, unconventional therapies, and unwavering faith, Blair developed the ability to hear, not through physical ears but through bone conduction, and to speak with remarkable clarity. He went on to attend college and live a normal life. Persistence, powered by a father's faith, rewrote a medical verdict. In daily life, a student who fails a critical exam can either drop the course or persistently re-engage. Analyze mistakes, seek tutoring, practice relentlessly, and pass the next time. An employee who is passed over for promotion can either become bitter or double down on skill building, visibility, and internal alliances until the next cycle yields a yes. A business owner whose first venture goes bankrupt can either give up or take the hard-won lessons and build a stronger second venture, as Henry Ford did after his first two automotive companies failed. An investor who loses a chunk of capital in a bad trade can quit the market entirely or study what went wrong, adjust the strategy, and keep investing with greater wisdom. Tomorrow, examine your current major goal and ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, how persistent am I being? If the answer is below an 8, identify the specific fear or discouragement that's weakening your resolve. Write it down, and then write a counter-statement that reframes that obstacle as a temporary solvable challenge. A mistake is confusing stubbornness with intelligent persistence. Stubbornness clings to a broken plan. Persistence maintains the desire while flexibly changing the approach. Another mistake is grinding yourself into burnout. Persistence must be sustainable, with rests and recovery built in. The limitation is that some goals genuinely become impossible due to circumstances beyond control. Knowing when to persist and when to pivot is high-level wisdom. Hill's framework assumes that if the desire is truly a burning one and the plan is continuously refined, surrender is rarely necessary. Yet there are times when letting go and choosing a new goal is the healthiest path. In the modern landscape of instant everything, persistence is a superpower. Social media feeds present overnight successes that are actually 10-year overnight successes. The compounding effect of small, persistent actions over a decade creates results that seem magical in hindsight. Persistence is the multiplier of all other principles, and one of the most potent allies in the battle for persistence is the support of other minds. That's the mastermind principle. Hill defines the mastermind as the coordination of knowledge and effort between two or more people who work toward a definite purpose in a spirit of harmony. No one has ever achieved enduring success without the help of others. The mastermind alliance doesn't just bring together skills and resources, it generates a third, invisible mind, a collective energy that transcends the sum of the participants. Andrew Carnegie attributed his entire fortune to his mastermind group. He surrounded himself with men who knew more than he did in their respective fields and met regularly to solve problems and set strategy. Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and Harvey Firestone famously vacationed together and sparked ideas in each other that none would have generated alone. In real life, a student can form a mastermind of 3 classmates, meeting weekly to hold each other accountable, share study techniques, and support each other's ambitions. An employee can create a career mastermind with colleagues from different departments, sharing insights and opportunities. A business owner who joins a formal entrepreneur peer group like Vistage or EO is following Hill's principle directly. An investor can join an investment club where members share research, challenge each other's biases, and combine capital for larger deals. Tomorrow, think of 2 or 3 people who share your values and ambition. Invite them to form a mastermind group. Establish a regular meeting, weekly or bi-weekly, with a clear agenda. Each person shares a win, a challenge, and a request. The harmony and mutual support you cultivate will accelerate everyone's progress. A common mistake is forming a mastermind with friends who are merely agreeable. True masterminds require honesty, challenge, and complementary strengths. Another mistake is allowing ego, competition, or lack of harmony to poison the group. The chemistry must be protected. Limitations. Mastermind groups can become echo chambers if not diverse enough. They can also create dependence if individuals stop thinking for themselves. And in some competitive industries, sharing too openly carries risk. But in most contexts, the amplification of brainpower far outweighs the dangers. In the digital age, mastermind groups have gone virtual. Zoom meetings, Slack communities, and social media masterminds allow global alliances. The core principle remains. A group of aligned, ambitious minds creates a force that no individual can match. And now we come to a principle that is both the most misunderstood and the most powerful: the mystery of sex transmutation. Hill's chapter on sex transmutation is often met with surprise or skepticism, but he considered it among the most important. The principle is this: sexual energy is the most powerful creative force in the human body. When redirected from physical expression into creative, professional, or artistic channels, it becomes an almost superhuman drive that can fuel great achievement. Great artists, inventors, and leaders have historically been known for their intense vitality and personal magnetism, which Hill attributed to their conscious or unconscious mastery of transmutation. He cites examples of men who channeled their sexual energy into building business empires during long periods of celibacy or disciplined focus. The energy is not suppressed, that would be harmful, but elevated, converting raw libido into passion for work, innovation, and influence. The result is a charismatic presence, a sharpened mind, and an indomitable drive that sets high achievers apart. For a student, this might mean using the intense emotions of romantic desire as fuel for creative or academic projects, rather than letting them become a distraction. For an employee, channeling that restless, passionate energy into a career-transforming project, rather than dissipating it in endless swiping on dating apps. For a business owner, the principle speaks to directing the deepest life force into the vision with such intensity that work becomes a form of ecstasy. For an investor, the calm, focused energy that comes from transmutation can produce the patience and sharp analysis that emotional reactivity destroys. Tomorrow, start with awareness. Simply notice where your creative energy flows. Is it being dissipated through compulsive consumption of media, addictive habits, or unfocused sexual outlets? The first step is not suppression, but recognition. Then begin redirecting that energy deliberately into your definite major purpose. A simple practice: when you feel a surge of desire, physical or emotional, immediately channel it into a burst of creative work. A mistake is interpreting transmutation as moralistic repression. Hill explicitly says the energy must be expressed, just through different channels. Another mistake is ignoring the power of physical intimacy in healthy relationships. The principle is about mastery, not deprivation. And some people twist this into an almost cultish purity doctrine, which misses the practical psychology. The limitation is that Hill's framework was written in the 1930s with a very male-centric viewpoint. Modern application requires a more inclusive understanding that all genders possess creative energy that can be transmuted. And for some, deep psychological blocks around sexuality can make this practice difficult without therapeutic guidance. In today's world of pervasive digital stimulation, transmutation is more relevant than ever. The endless scroll, the instant gratification, the dopamine loops, all of these scatter the life force. The ability to gather that energy and focus it like a laser on a single purpose is a competitive advantage that few possess. The takeaway: your deepest drives can be your greatest distractions or your greatest fuel. The choice is in the redirection. And all this redirection, all this mental programming, eventually saturates a part of you that operates 24 hours a day, the subconscious mind. Hill describes the subconscious mind as the intermediary that translates thoughts into their physical equivalent. It doesn't reason, it doesn't discriminate, it simply executes the commands that are impressed upon it with feeling. The subconscious is the fertile soil that accepts the seeds of desire and faith, and through means that Hill says are largely unknown, begins to attract the circumstances necessary for their fulfillment. He tells how many of the great achievements he studied seemed to come together through coincidences that felt orchestrated. A chance meeting, a sudden idea, a book that fell off a shelf. The subconscious, once programmed, seems to turn the entire environment into a living mastermind that guides the individual toward the goal. For a student, programming the subconscious with a clear picture of graduation success, of mastering difficult material, causes the mind to know to study resources, to retain information more effectively, to feel calm during exams. An employee who floods the subconscious with the image of professional confidence will unconsciously adopt the posture, the tone, and the decisions of a leader. A business owner programs the subconscious with revenue targets, and her mind starts noticing strategic opportunities that were invisible before. An investor programs for disciplined patience, and the subconscious begins to override impulsive reactions to market news. Tomorrow, use the moment just before sleep to program your subconscious. As you drift off, visualize your goal with strong emotion. The last thoughts of the day are processed by the subconscious all night. Similarly, upon waking, make your first thoughts those of gratitude and expectation for your goal's realization. A mistake is feeding the subconscious with fear and worry before bed, news, arguments, anxious planning. The subconscious works all night on whatever you give it. Guard the gate. Another mistake is planting conflicting commands, wanting success but expecting failure. The limitation is that the subconscious can be deeply damaged by trauma, and simply thinking positive thoughts may not heal those wounds. Professional help is sometimes necessary to clear the subconscious blocks, and Hill's claim that the subconscious connects to infinite intelligence is a metaphysical proposition, not a scientifically proven fact. Yet, the practical power of directing the subconscious is well documented in modern psychology. In our era, the subconscious is being programmed constantly by algorithms, ads, and media designed to trigger fear and desire. Deliberate self-programming is an act of sovereignty. The takeaway: your subconscious is your servant, not your master. Train it, and it will move mountains. But the mind is also capable of connecting to minds across distance, Hill believed, through what he called the brain as a broadcasting and receiving station. This is perhaps the most abstract and controversial chapter in the book. Hill proposed that the human brain functions as both a transmitter and a receiver of thought vibrations. The subconscious mind is the sending station, broadcasting the thoughts you've programmed into the ether, and receiving ideas, hunches, and inspirations from other brains, particularly those in your master mind group or those tuned to a similar frequency. He used the analogy of radio waves. Just as you can't see the sound waves carrying a symphony through the air, yet your radio can capture them and translate them into music, so too, Hill suggested, can the brain capture thoughts from the vast ocean of what he called the universal mind. Creative imagination is the receiving set. For a student, this principle encourages the practice of quieting the mind and expecting insights. Many great solutions come not from frantic thinking, but from a still, receptive state after intense study. An employee struggling with a work problem might pose the question before sleep and wake with the answer. A business owner can hold a mastermind meeting with the intention of accessing a collective intelligence that transcends individual knowledge. An investor might sit in silence after thorough analysis, waiting for an intuitive clarity on a decision. Tomorrow, practice the art of receptive stillness. For 10 minutes after saturating your mind with a problem, sit quietly and simply listen. Don't force, just be receptive. Write down whatever impressions arise without judgment. A common mistake is dismissing this as pure mysticism. Even if you reject the metaphysical framework, the practical value of quieting the rational mind to access subconscious patterns is supported by neuroscience. The default mode network often delivers creative solutions during rest. Another mistake is passively waiting for inspiration, without doing the hard work of filling the mind with specialized knowledge first. The brain can only transmit and receive what it's been primed to receive. The limitation is that this principle cannot be proven by conventional science, and it can lead some into passivity or magical thinking. It is best used as a complement to, not a replacement for, rigorous analysis and action. In the modern information age, we're bombarded with input. The receiving station is often jammed. Learning to unplug and tune into your own inner signal is a rare skill. The takeaway: your mind is not just a computer, it's a transceiver. Keep the channel clear, and you'll receive guidance you can't logically explain. And beyond this, Hill taught that with enough development, you can access a faculty that seems to transcend time and space. The sixth sense. Hill calls the sixth sense the apex of his philosophy. It can only be understood and applied after the other principles have been mastered. It is that subtle faculty of intuition, the still small voice that warns of danger or signals a golden opportunity. It is the bridge between the conscious mind and the universal mind, and it operates without effort, flowing from a mind that has been prepared through discipline, desire, and faith. He shares a personal story. During the Great Depression, when his own finances were in ruins, Hill felt a persistent inner prompting to write the book that would become Think and Grow Rich. He resisted at first, but the sixth sense wouldn't relent. He sat down and wrote the book in a matter of months, a book that has now outlived him and transformed millions of lives. That inner prompting, he believed, was his sixth sense guiding him to his life's purpose. For a student, the sixth sense might manifest as a sudden, just know, feeling about which college to choose, a knowing that goes beyond pros and cons. An employee might have a persistent hunch to leave a seemingly secure job and start a business, and later learn it was the right call. A business owner might feel an inexplicable urge to delay a launch, only to see a competitor release a similar product and get slammed by a market shift. An investor might feel an internal red flag about a deal that looks perfect on paper, and later discover hidden risks. You can't force the sixth sense, but you can cultivate it. Daily silence, journaling, and attention to your gut feelings in small matters builds the muscle. Write down your intuitions and track their accuracy over time. The more you honor them, the clearer they become. A mistake is mistaking impulse or fear for the sixth sense. The voice of intuition is calm, clear, and not driven by panic or greed. Another mistake is ignoring it entirely in favor of pure logic. The most successful people integrate both. The limitation is that this is entirely subjective. Some people report powerful intuitions, others never feel them. It may be a function of the subconscious mind processing data faster than consciousness, rather than anything metaphysical. Yet the practical result is the same. A wise decision appears from nowhere. In the noise of modern life, the sixth sense is drowned out by notifications, opinions, and constant media. Reclaiming silence is a radical act of wealth building. The takeaway: at the highest levels of achievement, decisions are made not just with analysis, but with a deep, intuitive knowing. But even this enlightened state can be clouded by the one thing that destroys more success than any external obstacle: fear. Let's confront it directly. Hill's book closes with a chapter called The Six Ghosts of Fear, and it's among the most psychologically profound sections ever written on self-sabotage. He identifies the 6 basic fears that keep people from achieving their goals: the fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of loss of love, the fear of old age, and the fear of death. All of these are states of mind, and they work by paralyzing action and poisoning the subconscious. He argued that until these fears are recognized and rooted out, no amount of desire or planning can succeed, because the fears will silently dismantle every effort. The fear of poverty is the most destructive to wealth building. It manifests as indifference, indecision, doubt, worry, and overcaution. The fear of criticism is what stops people from expressing ideas, taking creative risks, or stepping out of social norms. The fear of ill health can actually create physical symptoms through the power of the mind. Each of these ghosts operates in the shadows, and the first step to defeating them is bringing them into the light of conscious awareness. Hill's technique is not to fight fear directly, but to crowd it out with faith, defined purpose, and action. When the mind is fully occupied with a burning desire and a definite plan, there is no room for fear to take root. Fear is a negative faith, a belief in the worst possible outcome, charged with emotion. It works exactly the same way as positive faith, but in reverse. A student who fears failure may procrastinate studying, creating the very failure she dreads. The antidote is to replace the fear of failure with a burning desire for the success image, and to take a small, immediate action. An employee who fears criticism may never speak up in meetings, stagnating her career. She can start by voicing one small opinion in a safe setting, gradually building confidence. A business owner who fears poverty may hoard cash and miss growth opportunities. By revisiting her definite purpose and taking one bold, calculated risk, she breaks the spell. An investor who fears loss may keep all her money in cash, guaranteeing erosion through inflation. By educating herself and taking a small, diversified position, she learns that managed risk is the path to freedom. Tomorrow, take Hill's self-analysis test. Write down each of the 6 fears and honestly assess to what degree they are active in your life. Simply acknowledging them weakens their grip. Then for each fear, write a positive affirmation that directly counters it. For example, I release the fear of criticism and express my ideas boldly and authentically. A mistake is thinking you can eliminate fear permanently. It will reappear in new forms. Mastery is a continuous practice of awareness and redirection. Another mistake is condemning yourself for being afraid. Fear is human. Cowardice is letting fear make your decisions. The limitation is that Hill's framework treats fears as purely mental, but some fears are rooted in real systemic threats: discrimination, abuse, economic collapse. Those fears require external safety measures and support systems in addition to mental discipline. In today's anxiety-ridden culture, the 6 ghosts are more active than ever. Social media amplifies criticism. Economic volatility triggers poverty fear. Health anxiety is rampant. The antidote remains the same: a definite purpose, fueled by faith, acted upon with persistence, and protected by a disciplined mind. The key takeaway: fear is the great thief of dreams. Recognize its disguises and starve it by feeding your mind with desire, faith, and action. Now, all of these principles have shaped countless lives, but they also have their critics. No great work is immune to scrutiny, and it's time we gave that scrutiny a fair hearing. For decades, Think and Grow Rich has been celebrated. But it has also been challenged on academic, scientific, and ethical grounds. Academics note that the book is not a scholarly work. It offers anecdotal evidence rather than controlled studies. Hill's claim of interviewing over 500 of the world's most successful people has been partially corroborated but also questioned, with some historians suggesting the numbers may have been inflated. His association with questionable figures later in his career and his involvement in various business schemes have muddied his reputation. From a scientific perspective, the book's metaphysical claims, the universal mind, thought vibrations, the law of attraction, are unproven. Psychologists caution that while visualization and positive thinking have documented benefits for motivation and resilience, the notion that thoughts directly attract physical reality without action is pseudoscientific. The book can veer dangerously close to victim blaming. If you're poor, it's because your thoughts were wrong. Financial critics point out that Hill's own life was financially turbulent. He made and lost several fortunes, and the book was written from a place of personal need. Ethical concerns arise around the book's promise of wealth through mental power alone, which some say preys on the desperate. The steps are also highly individualistic, ignoring structural inequalities. What do experts agree with? The power of a clear goal, persistence, specialized knowledge, decisiveness, and mastermind groups are well supported by modern psychology and business practice. Goal-setting theory, the growth mindset, and the importance of social networks all validate core pieces of Hill's philosophy. The book's enduring legacy is its ability to awaken ambition and provide a mental framework for achievement. A balanced view is this. Think and Grow Rich is best understood as a philosophical and motivational text, not a scientific treatise. Its value lies in the psychological and practical tools it offers, not in its cosmological theories. Take the actionable principles, test them against reality, and leave the rest as poetic metaphor. And with that balanced lens, let's see how these principles operate in a world that Hill could never have imagined. If Napoleon Hill were writing today, he would see a world that magnifies his principles in staggering ways. The fundamental idea that thoughts are things and that definiteness of purpose leads to achievement holds true, but the tools, the pace, and the opportunities have transformed. In an age of rampant inflation, the desire for financial independence is no longer a luxury. It's a survival mechanism. The gig economy and remote work have made the organized planning principle more critical than ever. Without a boss to structure your day, you must structure your own mind. The rise of artificial intelligence makes specialized knowledge simultaneously more valuable and more perishable. The need to constantly update knowledge mirrors Hill's call for continuous learning. Digital businesses are the modern equivalent of Hill's call to use imagination. A solopreneur can build a global audience through a YouTube channel or a newsletter, programming the subconscious of her market with value, and monetizing through auto-suggestion-like repetition of her brand. The creator economy is a mastermind on a massive scale, where influencers collaborate, cross-promote, and lift each other. Social media offers a double-edged sword. It can serve as a mastermind or a fear amplifier. The 6 ghosts of fear, especially criticism and poverty, are weaponized by algorithms. The discipline to guard the mind's gate has never been more necessary. Cryptocurrency and NFT markets have shown the power of faith and desire in creating value, but also the danger of untethered imagination without organized planning. Index funds and ETFs make the principle of persistent, patient investing accessible to everyone, embodying faith and persistence in a tangible way. Side hustles allow employees to apply the transmutation principle, channeling excess energy into creative, income-producing assets. Online education has democratized specialized knowledge, and global investing opens master minds across borders. The core lesson remains identical. The mind is the starting point. The digital age simply provides the most powerful accelerants in history for those who can command their own psychology. And to make that concrete, let's meet 3 people who walked this path in our time. First, consider Daniel, a 24-year-old graphic designer drowning in student debt and working a job he disliked. He felt trapped, his fear of poverty keeping him in a paralysis of inaction. One weekend, he stumbled upon a YouTube summary of Think and Grow Rich, and the burning desire concept struck him. He wrote a definite goal: to earn $80,000 in 12 months through a freelance design agency, giving his clients exceptional branding. He wrote the statement, read it twice daily with feeling, and began to imagine himself running a thriving agency. He started with one small client, then another, using his evenings. He formed a mastermind with 2 fellow freelancers. Within 18 months, 6 months past his goal, he hit the income target, quit his job, and now runs a boutique agency. The lesson: a defined desire combined with a plan and persistence can cut through the fog of early career anxiety. Next, meet Vanessa, a 49-year-old middle manager in a telecommunications company. After 25 years, she was burned out, her career plateaued. She and her husband had a comfortable but uninspired life. She read the book and was struck by the principle of imagination. She realized she had vast specialized knowledge of telecom logistics that could be packaged into a consulting framework. She created a definite plan to launch a consulting practice on the side, using auto-suggestion to overcome her fear of criticism. Within 2 years, her side income matched her salary, and she negotiated a part-time role. By 53, she was fully self-employed, working fewer hours and earning more. The lesson: it's never too late to transmute decades of experience into a new asset, and imagination is the key to unlocking that value. Finally, consider Marcus, a 36-year-old entrepreneur whose tech startup was failing. He had already burned through 2 rounds of funding. Desperate, he revisited Hill's chapter on persistence and the master mind. He formed a new advisory board of seasoned founders, shared his challenges honestly, and opened himself to their collective intelligence. Through that mastermind, he realized his product needed a fundamental pivot. He made a firm decision in a single meeting, then pursued the new direction with renewed burning desire and organized planning. The pivot succeeded, and the company was acquired 3 years later. The lesson: failure is not the end, it's data. Persistence, combined with the right mastermind, can turn a disaster into a triumph. These stories share a common architecture: a moment of clarity, the application of a definite goal, the daily conditioning of the mind, the assembly of supportive allies, and the relentless willingness to adapt and continue. The question that remains is, what does your version of this look like? Starting now, let's build your personal action plan, step by step, drawing directly from Hill's 13 principles. Step 1. Crystallize your desire. Write down one specific, measurable, time-bound financial or professional goal. Why? Because vagueness is the enemy of achievement. Example: I intend to earn an additional $20,000 in income by December 15th through a freelance web development side business, in exchange for delivering high-quality websites to small business owners. Common mistake: making the goal about what you want to have, without specifying what you will give in return. Expected outcome: a target your subconscious can lock onto. Step 2. Create your written statement and read it aloud twice daily with strong emotion. Why? This is auto-suggestion programming the subconscious. Example: before you get out of bed and right before sleep, read your statement, close your eyes, and feel the emotions of already having achieved the goal. Mistake: reading mechanically without feeling. Outcome: a mind aligned with your objective, noticing opportunities you previously missed. Step 3. Form a mastermind. Identify 2 or 3 people who share your growth mindset and arrange a weekly check-in. Why? No one succeeds alone. Collective intelligence multiplies individual effort. Example: a short video call every Monday where each person shares a win, a challenge, and a request. Mistake: forming a group with people who don't challenge you. Outcome: accountability, fresh ideas, and expanded resources. Step 4. Acquire specialized knowledge relevant to your goal. Dedicate at least 20 minutes a day to learning. Why? General knowledge doesn't pay, expertise does. Example: take an online course on web development, study marketing, or read case studies of successful agencies. Mistake: learning endlessly without applying. Outcome: a competitive advantage that translates directly into income. Step 5. Draft an organized plan and take immediate action. Break your goal into monthly, weekly, and daily steps. Do the first step today. Why? A desire without a plan is a daydream. Example: step 1 might be to set up a portfolio website. Mistake: waiting for the perfect plan, launch the imperfect one and iterate. Outcome: momentum and real-world feedback. Step 6. Make decisions quickly and firmly. Cut off the habit of overconsultation and delay. Why? Indecision is a dream killer. Example: if you're considering a tool or a course, set a deadline for decision and commit. Mistake: seeking approval from people who aren't qualified to give it. Outcome: faster progress and increased confidence. Step 7. Cultivate persistence through the first failures. When you hit an obstacle, view it as data, not defeat. Revise the plan and continue. Why? Every successful person failed repeatedly before breaking through. Example: if your first 10 client pitches are rejected, analyze the feedback, improve your pitch, and pitch 10 more. Mistake: mistaking stubbornness for persistence. Change the approach, not the goal. Outcome: the resilience that separates achievers from quitters. Step 8. Transmute excess energy and emotion into your work. Notice when fear, frustration, or even romantic energy arises and consciously channel it into productive action on your goal. Why? Raw emotional energy is fuel, don't waste it. Example: If you feel angry about a setback, use that anger to power a focused work sprint. Mistake, repressing or indulging emotions instead of redirecting them. Outcome, heightened drive and creativity. Step 9. Practice daily mental housekeeping to starve the 6 ghosts of fear. At the end of each day, scan your mind for the fears of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death. Write down any that appeared and counter them with the truth. Why? Fears grow in the dark. Example, if you notice fear of criticism after posting your work online, affirm, I welcome constructive feedback and grow stronger. Criticism is a reflection of the critic, not of my worth. Mistake, ignoring or wallowing in fear. Outcome, a mind that remains clear, confident, and focused. Step 10. Regularly engage your imagination in a silent hour. For 10 minutes daily, sit in quiet and simply imagine new solutions, new ideas, new connections for your goal. Why? The imagination is the workshop. Silence is where it comes alive. Example, ask yourself, how can I serve my clients better? And listen for answers. Mistake, filling every moment with input. Outcome, a flow of creative ideas that set you apart. Step 11. Practice faith by acting as if your success is already certain. Make decisions, speak, and carry yourself from the future self who has already achieved the goal. Why? Faith is not just thought, it's embodied. Example, when speaking to a potential client, project the calm confidence of someone whose calendar is already full. Mistake, arrogance instead of grounded confidence. Outcome, people will respond to your certainty with opportunities. Step 12. Periodically review and strengthen your sixth sense. Keep a journal of your intuitive hunches and their outcomes. Why? Attention sharpens intuition. Example, write down a gut feeling about a business move, then check back in a month. Mistake, confusing impulse with intuition. Real intuition is calm, not frantic. Outcome, a reliable inner guidance system. Step 13. Never stop. Make this a lifelong practice. The principles compound. Why? Success is not an event, it's a way of living. Example, once your initial goal is achieved, set a new, larger one immediately. Mistake, resting on laurels. Outcome, a life of continuous growth and expanding impact. These steps are not a rigid checklist. They are a rhythm. Start with the first 3 today and you will feel a shift by tomorrow. The secret is in the doing. And as we wrap up this journey, let's gather the entire philosophy into a single, integrated picture that you can carry forward. We began with a man on a train platform, penniless but burning with a desire that would not be denied. That man, Edwin Barnes, demonstrated the first and greatest principle. A burning desire, refined into a definite purpose, is the starting point of all achievement. That desire was amplified by faith, not a religious belief, but a cultivated state of mind that sees the outcome as already real. Faith was fed daily through autosuggestion, the deliberate programming of the subconscious mind with emotionally charged instructions. To turn that desire into reality, Barnes acquired specialized knowledge of the dictating machine and the sales industry. He used his synthetic imagination to assemble a plan, and his creative imagination to see possibilities others missed. That plan was not static. It was organized planning, adapted relentlessly until it worked. Throughout, he made firm decisions and refused to vacillate, even when the path was unclear. And he persisted, through years of waiting and minor roles, until the moment of opportunity arrived. Barnes did not act alone. He operated within a mastermind, allied with Edison himself, demonstrating that no great achievement is solo. The energy that fueled his relentless drive can be understood through the principle of sex transmutation, the redirection of life force into creative achievement. His subconscious mind, once saturated with his goal, became a receiving station that attracted the precise opportunity he needed. And in the final analysis, his sixth sense, that inexplicable inner knowing, guided him to stay the course when logic might have told him to quit. All of this was done in the shadow of the 6 ghosts of fear. Barnes could have been paralyzed by the fear of poverty or criticism. Instead, he starved those fears and fed his faith, and the result was a partnership with one of the greatest minds in history. This is the integrated system. The principles are not separate techniques. They are gears in a single machine. Desire is the fuel. Faith is the ignition. Autosuggestion is the transmission that delivers the fuel to the engine. Specialized knowledge, imagination, and organized planning are the pistons and crankshaft. Decision and persistence are the wheels that grip the road. The master mind is the turbocharger. Transmutation is the high-octane additive. The subconscious, the brain, and the sixth sense are the intelligent navigation system. And conquering fear is the armor that keeps the machine intact through the storm. When all these elements fire together, you are no longer a person hopping to get lucky. You are a force of nature, moving with deliberate intention toward a destiny you have chosen. The external world will still present obstacles, but the internal world is ordered, powerful, and aligned. That, Napoleon Hill would say, is the true secret to thinking and growing rich. And so we come to the end of our time together, but the end of a book is only the beginning of a life. Napoleon Hill spent 20 years of his life distilling the wisdom of 500 of the world's most successful people into a single volume. He did it during the Great Depression, not from a position of comfort but from a place of personal desperation and unshakable faith in the mission. He gave the world a blueprint that has now survived nearly a century, and its power lies not in its originality. Many of these ideas are ancient, but in its synthesis, its clarity, and its relentless call to personal responsibility. Money, success, achievement, these are not ends in themselves. They are tools. They buy you freedom, yes, but more importantly, they buy you the capacity to contribute, to lift others, to expand your soul's expression in the world. Hill understood that wealth without wisdom is a curse, but wealth with purpose is a blessing that ripples outward. The one thing I want you to take away, above all else, is this. Your mind is not your enemy, and your dreams are not your follies. They are the blueprints of a life that is trying to be born through you. The world will give you 1,000 reasons to shrink, to doubt, to delay. But if you can hold a single, definite purpose with the white heat of desire, if you can mix it with faith and walk toward it every single day with persistence, you will join the ranks of those who have turned the invisible into the visible. Not because you're lucky, not because you're special, but because you learned and applied the formula. Of course, no single book contains all the answers. Think and Grow Rich is a map, not the territory. It reflects the mind of a man writing in a particular time, with particular blind spots and biases. It is best read critically, with a pencil in hand, arguing, questioning, and testing. If what you've heard today has sparked something inside you, I urge you to find the original text, to read it slowly, to do the exercises, and to join the millions who have found in its pages a turning point. The final thought I want to leave with you is simply this. You are one decision, one plan, one persistent action away from a completely different life. The resources you need are already present, often hidden inside you or around you in forms you haven't yet recognized. But recognition begins with a decision to look, to believe, and to act. The man on the train platform had nothing but a thought. By the time he was done, he had a partnership with Thomas Edison. You have that same spark. Guard it, feed it, and let it burn until it lights up your entire world. The time to begin is now.